Guys, this is Allison from Allykatkreations. How are you? Today is the 12/12 portal, so I hope all of you did some meditating, chilling out, and taking things easy. So I did a whole Viking Enuma yesterday. And again, Spirit directed me to the big boy, Oahspe. But before I get there, I am freezing. I'm an old lady, but I'm really not. And I had a lot of hair loss. I'm going to tell you what, guys. This is a lozenge. It's all natural. I'm getting my hair back. And then I've been taking this because I'm hitting like my prime and my hormones are not the greatest. It's a sucking candy. Stuff works. And it's just hitting the United States. Just hitting the United States. If you lost your job and you want an opportunity, please message me. If you're interested in the drops, just to try, let me know. It's working. It's not going to get my hair color back, but yeah, so sorry yesterday went on a big rant and like almost went into tears because I was very emotional. A lot of energies have been crossing all of our paths the last 2 to 3 days. Amongst horrific things going on in our world. So yeah, can't help that. Can't help that. I said a lot of meditation today and did a lot of focus healing on people and of the land. I'm really hoping a lot of things start changing because I don't think a lot of us can bear with this anymore. I sure can't. So what's interesting with Oahspe is that the top half of the book is the Book of Thor, son of Jehovah. Underneath is the Lord's fourth book. Okay, so I'm not gonna, it's pretty lengthy. Physical picture, not really, can't even see it. So I'm gonna do the Book of Thor, maybe the first two, and then I'm gonna go scooch down to the Lord's fourth book, and then go back. So I don't want to be confusing, but there's some goodies in each. I'm not gonna read the entirety of all the paragraphs, but just to get a gist of newness to many people who don't know about Oahspe. I know my favorite Jason mentions Oahspe a lot, especially the Book of Thor. So I'm going to do all my JQ fans as a justice in reading this, because not everybody has the time to read these books. And I've been allowed it in an unfortunate scenario to be able to read these books. Just making sure I don't need a tissue. It's December. and it was 66 degrees in New York yesterday. Now it's back down to, what is it? 40. And I didn't update it. So let's see, what is it now? 39. What, from 66? Yeah. Book of Thor, son of Jehovah. Being the records of Thor, Apollo's successor on the earth and in her heavens, from the ark of Mos to the ark of Day, in the Etherean heavens, and of the 3,200 years. Chapter 1. Hang on, I'm going to blow my nose. Thor, Orion, chief of Donga in Etheria, god of Palaya, surveyor of Yortes, and Thassa, god of Galib, receiver of Sapphire, and Hosanna, god of Warts, and Lo, and Yasin. And I don't care if I pronounce these words wrong. Don't care. Counselor in the ethereal worlds, Hituna, Setarian, Seeing, Sethwan, and Habak, greeting. In the holy council of gods and goddesses in Donga, the voice of Jehovah came to Thor, saying, my son, behold the red star, the earth. She courseth from Mos to Day, and now draggeth in the swamps of Asath. Behold, thou shalt deliver her through thy dominions 3,200 years. Even now approach the dawn of gain. Thor spoke before the holy council on Jehovah's Etherean throne, saying, behold, the young world, the earth, cometh our way. For 3,200 years she will journey in the fields of Donga. Then the holy council deliberated on the matters of the earth and her heavens, and all other corporeal worlds that were to pass through Donga for 3,000 years. And it was found that the dawn of Dan would fall upon earth first of all. Then called Thor from the swift messengers that course the firmament. It's a big theme, guys, I'm sorry. In the regions of Aperwath, the roadway of the earth's past history, and the swift messengers came and laid their report before the throne of Jehovah as to what world the earth was, and the harvests of angels she yielded up to emancipated heavens. When the reports were finished and deliberated on by the holy council, Thor, son of Jehovah, said, for further knowledge as to the present conditions of this world, the earth, it is my command that Yathai, god of Gemato, I guess so, chose 1 million volunteers, and in Arata proceeded to the earth and her heavens to visit her gods and lords and ascertain the condition of their angels and mortals and report back to Donga. Very curious, extremely curious, if these ethereal plane dimensions and multiverse dimensions actually have these names. That would be banana nuts. But God said to Yathi, behold, the earth and these atmospherian heavens are full of false lords and false gods. Yathi inquired how many were there. God said, more than 30,000 gods and 160,000 lords. Behold, in every great city on earth is there a false god or a false lord, and he hath a small heavenly kingdom of his own, even on earth. And the spirits of the dead of that place are his slaves for his own exaltation. Running theme I'm seeing. Maybe? And in many of these heavenly kingdoms, there are wars and anarchy, hells, where the angels torment one another endlessly. Nor will these false gods and false lords and their subjects admit that there are higher heavens than they own. The spirits of the newly dead are captured and kept in ignorance of Jehovah and his vast creations, but made a vow to adoration and worship to the false lord or false god. And these again begin incongruity to mortals, inspire them to the same worship, which fits them in time of death to fall as slaves into the dominion of him whom they worship. The wars in heaven have inspired mortals to wars on earth, so that all around the world everlasting battles are going on. And such as are slain on earth, battlefields are born in spirit in chaos, not knowing they are dead as to the earth. And so they linger on the battlefields, still battling imaginary foes. All over the earth are those battlefields covered with spirits in chaos, and with the spirits of Drooks and Drujas and Yaks and ground people who know nothing more than the beasts in the field. The concept that reminds me of what's being spoken about is the soul trap matrix machine that was big key word there was on the moon. So many of us live out a human life. When we die, we don't go towards the right light. The machine gives us a false sense of we've reached heaven, and we're zapped right back down into another human form. Many of us, I feel like I've been stuck in that matrix machine a few times, have had a lot of lives. And I'm going to put a pause over here because there's some goodies over here I wanted to read. Just want to keep it on the same page and I don't have to go back. The Lord's fourth book. By altars and temples, and by idols and images, and by painted signs and engraved words, God foresaw that the knowledge of one generation could be handed down to the next. And through all these things are false in fact, as written word is not a word, but an image of an idea which hath been spoken. So by symbols conveyed God, the living truth. Boop. God said, behold, with my secret people have I established myself in written words. Now hath it come to pass that all the races of man on earth shall be made to know me. God commanded man to make stone and wooden images and engravings also of everything upon the earth, and man so made them according to his own knowledge. God said, as every living creature hath a name, so shall the image thereof and the engraving thereof have the same name. And even so shall it be with all things on the earth, and in the waters thereof, and in the air above the earth. The image and the engraving shall have the same names, even as the real things themselves. And God sent his angels down to man to inspire him in the workmanship of images and engravings. And man thus accomplished the commandments of God. And these were the first writings since the flood, other than such as were kept secret among the Ionians. And of this matter were the writings to wit. A picture of a man was a man, a picture of a tree was a tree, a picture of a bird was a bird, and even so was everything represented by its own name and image. Then God said, when thou hast made the picture of a spear, behold, it is a spear. And when thou dearest to show which way a man goeth, thou shalt add to the grave image the likeness of a spear. And the way it pointeth shall show the way man goeth. Even so shalt thou express the going of everything on earth and the heavens. Thus man made a written language in every region of earth by many men were these things done, according to the light of God upon them. So accomplished the written languages of thousands of tribes of men. God said, this shall be called the Panic language, because it is made of earthly images. And in after ages, whoever desireth, to find the first written words of man shall have recourse to the pictures of all things on earth, and in the waters, and in the air above the earth. God said, as in the olden time man named all things according to their own spoken words and sounds, uttered so in the days of Thor, came to the Gains, the written word of everything on earth and in heaven. When man had written the name of all things, one only had not written, he had not written, even the name of his creator. God said, even that also thou shalt write. Then man inquired, O Lord, how can I find a word to express the creator? God said, many tribes have I raised upon the earth, and behold, they all had written the names of all things, save only the creator. Go to, therefore, and write thou his name again. Man said, alas, O my God, I know no name, save the names I have already made. If I could hear the creator or see him, then could I write his name. Bearing with me. Then man drew a circle and called it O, for it represented that which was without beginning or end, and with which contained all within. Then man drew a line cutting through the circle from east to west, to represent the light of the east traveling to the west. Then man drew a line from above from below upward, cutting the circle at right angles with the horizontal to represent the one road of all things. From the bottom upward forever, the first line man called E, for it was the same as the wind speaketh in the leaves. But the second line he called I, for it represented the unseen shaft that cutteth all things in twain. And when man had completed the engraving, he called it Oof. Interesting. So now we're going to jump back to Thor. I just thought that was really interesting with letter formations, because the Keys of Enoch also goes into what some of the letters are. Text, that book goes into letter formation. I still didn't see the letter J. Just saying. The last line before chapter 2. Then came the light of Jehovah to Thor, saying, my son, take thou a sufficient host of Etherians, and go to the red star in her heavens, and deliver them in my name. Thor called in 30 million volunteers, and he provided a Valanzia, an ethereal ship of fire, in which they embarked for the Red Star, where they should remain 4 years and 238 days, which was called the Dawn of Dan, for Thor of Donga. God and his lords, being appraised by Thor's coming, had the capital in readiness for his reception. And they had beside gathered in all the angles of the second resurrection, and as many of the first as chose to come. In all, they were in Gau assembled 900 million angels, faithists in Jehovah. Of these, not more than 1 million had ever seen an Etherian, nor had they visited outward from the earth further than the 7th plateau in the atmosphere. Amongst these, even into the heavenly capital of Gau, ulted Thor and his 30 millions. And after due salutations in the manner of gods and goddesses, a day of recreation was proclaimed from the throne of God, and thereupon the atmospherians and Etherians mingled together joyfully. Then ascended Thor on the throne of God, and he ordained as followeth to wit: 1 million constables to go to the false lords and false gods and arrest them and bring them to Gau for judgment. 1 million captors to possess the thrones and temples of the false lords and false gods and hold them. 8 million captors to gather in the angel slaves all that have heavens. 6 million dispersers to overthrow and disperse the hells, heavenly battlefields of spirits in chaos. I would question if that's demons. 6 million physicians to disrupt beetles from mortals. 2 million founders of Essenian nurseries for the spirits of infants and helpless ones, born into heaven before their full time. That's deep for when this was written. Very deep. 1 million founders of hospitals for chaotic angels and others stricken in disease. 500,000 marshals, 500,000 messengers, and 3 million builders. And when these had been selected by the proper officers, they were dispatched to their several places and duties. Then Thor reorganized the council of Garu for their period of dawn. So God and his lords rested for a season, while as Thor and his hosts delivered earth and her heavens. In 1 year, all the false lords and false gods and goddesses were captured and brought to Gau. Neither passed Thor judgment upon them until they were all brought in. And on this occasion, there were as assembled in Gau millions of angels to witness the proceedings. Thor said unto them, perceive ye not that my power is greater than yours? How could that be? I have but 30 million, and of you there are more than 30,000 million. Wherein then I am more powerful? Behold, I have arrested all your heavens and heavenly rulers. How is this? Whence my power? Not one could answer Thor. Then Thor said, my army is a unit. Yours are divided, one against another. Yeah, each one was in anarchy. This I declare unto you all, Jehovah first of all, and his creatures, to learn to master the elements of earth and heaven. This is the foundation for acquiring all power. Because ye bound yourselves in heavenly places on earth, ye rose not up to the places prepared for you. Answer me now. How standeth the world as to what is to come? Many of the false lords and false gods answered after this manner. I fear to speak my mind, lest thou in anger cast me in hell. Thor said, he who hath learned to know Jehovah and to serve him feareth nothing on earth nor in heaven. Fear is but the manifestation of weakness. Damn right, Thor. Speak therefore what he desires, no harm shall befall you. We'll come back to the Lord's book. Then many of them said, this do I perceive, O God. There lie the earth and many heavens. The strongest mortals rule over the weaker. The strongest gods rule over the weaker. Therefore, make me thy slave. I am content. Then Thor said, a greater hardship give I unto all. I give you the liberty and freedom. Go therefore whither ye desire. I ask not one to serve me, but say unto you, go serve Jehovah, by lifting up whomsoever is beneath you. They answered, whither shall we go? We know not the way from one heaven to another, nor the way down to earth. Thou sayest, go serve Jehovah by lifting up each. Sorry, guys. Go serve Jehovah by lifting up such as are beneath us. Now, verily, we cannot lift up ourselves. Had we great riches or power or wisdom, then would we be willing to do for those beneath us? Thor said, verily, are ye gods of darkness? I say unto you, wait not for any of these things, but go at once and serve Jehovah. They answered, when we have first provided a way for ourselves, then we will serve him. Thor said, verily, are ye gods of darkness? I say unto you, wait not for any of these things, but go at once and serve Jehovah. They answered, when we have first provided a way for ourselves, then we will serve him. Ye have spoken the darkness of all the world. I say unto you, go serve Jehovah first, and after that come to me, that I may see wherein ye lack in anything. They answered, how can one serve Jehovah by lifting others up if we have not clothes, nor food, nor habitation? Thor said, it is well ye ask the question to your own souls, and behold, the Father will answer you. Let that be the question ye ask yourselves every hour of the day, and watch ye for an opportunity to answer it by the labor of your own hands. Then the false gods and false lords were dismissed from custody. Thor commanded the light of the throne and of the pillars of heavenly fire to be raised in a higher grade. The false lords and false gods desired to flee because of the brilliancy of the light, but knew not whither to go. Thor said unto them, why have ye assumed to be lords and gods, since ye cannot even master the elements in the lower heavens? I say unto you, the regions of Jehovah's universe are boundless. Let no one assume to do that which he cannot do, but little by little, learn to master the elements surrounding him, and he will in time learn to traverse Jehovah's beautiful firmament and be indeed a fit companion for God and goddesses. Then spake the false lords and false gods, saying, oh, that he had someone to show us the way to learn. Then Thor, perceiving they were in proper humor for resurrection, allowed unto them certain teachers and disciplinarians, and they were taken into educational colonies and put to work. What does that sound like? Write in the comments. So I'm going to do chapter 2 of the Lord's book. I just want to blow my nose. Give me a sec. I'm back. You don't need to see me blow my nose. Okay, so this is from the Lord's book, chapter 2. The Lord came down to man on earth and spake to the man in two ways, by the voice as man speaketh, and by the spirit as souls answereth to soul. The Lord said, the voice of man is air in motion. By the mouth of man cometh the word of knowledge. But back of the voice, back of the air in motion, back of the mouth, which gaveth voice, there lieth the soul, which it is that causeth man to think of speaking, and the soul lieth in the ocean of the Creator, who is God of all. The Lord said, that speaketh to thy soul, O man, teaching thee wisdom and good works, reproving thee for the faults, and enchanting thee with the glories of all created things, and is the voice of thy Creator. And that is the road by which the Lord thy God cometh to thee. The Lord said, behold, man hath attained to written knowledge. Now shall he have books, and learn to keep records after the manner of the angels in heaven. Then God sent angels down to man, speaking both by the soul and by the voice, in different places and to different rabbis, teaching them how to make books of skins and of bark and of cloth, for the graven words and images which he had taught man. The Lord said, gathereth together 1,000 men and women, and I will lead you to the brethren, whose forefathers were also saved from the flood, saved by the sacred little people, the Ions. Provide ye in all things requisite for a journey of 4 years, and I will lead you. So it came to pass after a journey of 4 years, the migrants from each country came to the place of their destination, and by their written and spoken words knew they were one another, and they called themselves the 3 children of the ark of Noah. And Lord said unto them, in each of the countries whither they had come, provide records unto the work of God. For these journeys shall be remembered to the ends of the world. And in all these countries there were made images of stone and copper and engravings thereon of the word, thereon the children of Noah and the flood, and the sacred tribes of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. God said, these shall be preserved as the first names of the lands. And it was so. Curious. Got my little kitty cat, who's over here, sleeping. The flood. Flood happened during Thor. What I question is Agartha, and what dimension Agartha is. So, putting a little pause. In Norse mythology, Thor is Odin, Allfather's son. Loki is Thor's brother. You could consider Thor as would be Archangel Michael. And who was Archangel Michael's brother? Archangel Hellal. Loki, Lucifer. Maybe, possible. But in Agartha, which is Middle Earth, like underneath us, the hollow Earth theory, it's not really hollow. In the 4th dimension, Asgard, where Odin is the dude who sits on top. If you ever watched the Marvel movies or read the mythology, that's where Odin's hall is in Asgard, and looks down upon the creation. And Thor is the ruler of Midgard, which is Earth. I just find it very, very highly interesting when reading this about the flood and no, which is Noah. But I always question when reading these things, and this was channeled, by the way, this entirety is a huge book. I just find it really, really jaw-dropping. So I'm going to go to Thor chapter tree. Hang on, guys. Allison needs meds. I'm back. How to crack my back. So the last, before I read this, one of my videos, I had to crack my neck really bad. And they captured me because I don't have okay, I went to art school. I have my art degree from the School of Visual Arts. But I'm not a graphic designer. I'm a fine artist. I draw, I paint. And I don't have any graphic computer skills. And mind you, when I was in college, I had the original first ever CD burner. Okay, so I'm not, even if I did get a graphic design, there's so much now that I'd be outdated historian librarian. Okay, so I was leaning back and I look crazy. I look possessed. No, not doing it. Okay, chapter 3. Thor said, to induce men and angels to find the way of resurrection, this is the greatest of all teachings. Man saith, O God, raise up thy servant. And the Lord saith, hold up thy hands, and I will lift thee up. But man will not. Man saith, send wise and holy angels to me, O Lord, to guide me in righteousness and good works. And the Lord saith, as thou asked of God, even so do thou to thy fellows, but man will not. As it is with man on earth, even so do we find it in Hada. Again, bear with my pronunciations, guys. To induce angels to develop themselves by taking hold with their own hands and by the exercise of their own talents, this is the work of lords and gods, to rule over them without their knowing it, so as they lead them the right way. This is wisdom. I personally love that, because before I knew what I was, I had no idea how many spirit guides, angels, archangels, ascended masters, interdimensional beings, star family people were visiting me and coming to me. Zero idea. I knew about spirits because I saw shit with my own eyes, literally. But usually it's demonic in nature, shadow people, unrested souls, because all of Earth is like a hollow Earth in a sense. It doesn't matter where you live, something had to die, and your house is on top of it. I don't. Battlegrounds everywhere. People traversed the entirety of the planet. At some point, somebody walked across there and died. Just what it is. But Staten Island, where I am, Native Americans and soldiers. I have a soldier who takes care of this house, and I have Native American spirits who I've made amends with. They were not nice to me, and now they are, because I honor them. But I wouldn't have known that unless I saw that with my own eyes. But the higher angelics, no idea. Just had to put that in there, guys. I love reading stuff like that. The first passion of man is to eat. The second, the sexual desire. Ooh. The third, to make others serve him. And if he accomplish the latter, then he is indeed the prince of evil. Ooh. For he then holdeth dominion to the hurts of others. So also, as man buildeth these habitations in his soul on earth, how vain his effort for happiness in heaven, to teach him to undo all his past and to make full restitution unto others. This is the work of gods and lords over souls of darkness. Thor established 2,000 educational colonies in Atmospheria, besides innumerable places of manufacturing and building, teaching the angels of heaven how to provide habitations for those born of earth into spirit life. In 3 years of dawn, Thor had prepared for the Etherian ascension 4,000 million brides and bridegrooms. Now all this while, the angels of Atmospheria had been taught much in regard to the emancipated kingdoms in Etheria, of the splendor and majesty and power of gods and goddesses there abiding. Thor spake from the throne of God before the holy council, saying, send swift messengers to Betias, goddess of Tro in Etheria, greeting, and say unto her, thus saith Thor, Jehovah's son, Oran chief of Doga, come thou to the heavens of the earth. I have 4,000 million brides and bridegrooms as Jehovah's harvest. Provide thou an arata of great size and splendor, for its presence shall enchant my people. I find all this very interesting, but I'm going to keep reading. The swift messengers depart, and proper officers at once set about making ready to receive Betias. Others were sent into other parts of the atmosphere with fire boats to bring Atmosphereans to Gao, that they might hold the glory of the higher heavens as manifested in the descent and ascent of the Arata. And just like what I was reading yesterday in the Enuma Elish, sorry guys, my spine is really hurting. Again, officers, administrators, just correlating, guys. Correlating. All these things were accomplished. Betias came in great splendor, and all the kingdoms and subkingdoms of Guru were filled with thousands of millions come to witness the ceremonies. This then was the size of Beatus Arata, diameter east and west, north and south, 2,000 miles to the borders of the Photosphere, and 9,000 miles east and west and north and south, was 200 miles high. Of beams, the entire length, there were 12,400,000, and of uprights, they were numerous accordingly. And there were a sufficient number of chambers within the Arata for every soul to have one. And besides these, there were halls and temples within, also suitable for music and other entertainments. So as I read, you could see some cuteness. The colors and shades and tints with mirrors and with opaque ornaments, both movable and fixed, were provided in all possible ways, for ornament and for service, the like of which for beauty had never been surpassed in Donga. And when the whole Arata was completed, it looked like an oval globe of light, with a framework transparent and opaque within alternated so as to add beauty to every part. And it was fitted and equipped for the third resurrection, having no storage places for atmosphere or anything in common with the lower heavens. She makes a funny noise when she washes her face. To add still further to its splendor, Beatrice had her Artara ornamented with banners and streamers illuminated, so that at a distance, when seeing descending, the whole vessel seemed like a sun surrounded on every side with movable stars, waving streams of light. Amongst her hosts were 1,000,000 trumpeters and players on harps, and 2,000,000 singers. In the midst of the forepart of the ship was a holy council chamber with 4,000,000 members. Above the council chamber was the council of worship, and at either side were the halls for the dancing and social reunion. When Beatrice's ship neared the atmospheric kingdom of God, millions of her hosts stationed themselves on the gallery beams and stay lines, adding a scene of life to the ethereal ship of surpassing beauty. The ballast had Betius provide her ship so that when she came within the earth's vortex, she could stand where she desired, whilst the earth and her heavens turned their axial course, that both mortals and angels might witness the brilliancy and glory of the works of Donga's chief goddess. And thus Beatas stood in her ship of fire, just beyond the plateau of Guru, whilst the earth and her heavens made one revolution. The next day, she descended into Gao, where God and his lords, under direction of Thor, Jehovah's son, had prepared the mighty audience. When the ship was made fast, the chief marshal of Beatrice, hosts met and conducted Beatrice up in front of the throne of God. Thor said, "In Jehovah's name, welcome, daughter of light." Beatrice said, "Praise the Almighty, in love I am come to answer thy prayer." Then spake God, saying, "Welcome, O goddess, come honor my throne." Then when Beatrice forward in a flame of light, and was greeted after the manner of gods and goddesses, after which she sat in the midst of the throne. and at once ceremonies of initiation for brides and bridegrooms were accomplished. Then came the day of creation, and after that, Beatrice and her hosts, together with 4,000 million brides and bridegrooms, entered her Artara and departed upon the Etherian heavens. Okay, we're going to go back to chapter 3 of the Lord's book. It's really short, and I'm not going to read the whole entire thing. For 2 years, the migrants tarried in the countries they visited, going much about, showing themselves and relating a history of the country whence they came. Then spake the Lord to the migrants in their respective places, saying, Behold, the time is come for you departure. Gather together, O my beloved, and return to your own country, and they relate all the glories that your God hath shown you. So they departed and returned their own respective places, and behold, it took 4 years to accomplish the journey. Now during the travel of the migrants, the Lord spake to them every day. Through the Ihin priests spake the Lord unto them. Of the 6,000 migrants, there were lost 10 tribes. In all, 386 people, men and women. Some were lost in one place and some in another. God said, Sing ye songs of lamentations to my chosen who are lost, the faithless in Jehovah, for this also shall become a matter of record to the end of the world. Nevertheless, a time shall come when the Lord your God shall reveal the mystery of this day. So when the people had returned to their respective places, behold, they all sang songs of lamentations for the tribes that were lost. God said, I have shown you the far off people. I have marked out the road. Keep the road open. Keep the travel open between the great countries I have shown you. Every 11 years shall one expedition start to the far off countries, and if perchance ye find my chosen, bring them home. But in your journeys, keep aloof from the Ihunans, the barbarians, the man-eaters. For they keep not my commandments, nor preserve they their seed through circumcision. But they mix with Druk's ground people and went down in the darkness, barbarism. Keep ye away from them, O my beloved. Carry with you on all your expeditions, heathen priests, the sacred people, the mound builders. In all your journeys ye shall encounter your brethren coming and going, who dwelleth in the far off countries, that ye may distinguish them. Keep secret the sacred password and rites of my Treva order. Chapter 4. Hear the word of thy God, O man, and be considerate in thy little hearing, interpreting the records of the ancients rather by the Spirit than by the word, wherein it was constantly commanded in the ancient sacred writings to avoid going down to destruction, and they obeyed not the commandments of the Lord. Behold ye the light of your God in this day. For the Ihans, even before the flood, were in the first place born capable of everlasting life, but they mixed with the Druk's until the seed of the first spirit of eternal life became exhausted, and they brought forth heirs incapable of self-sustaining and self-sustenance in heaven. Hence it was said of them that they went down in darkness. Now, after a while, a new race of Ionians were brought forth, and they were at first capable of all light of everlasting life. But they also kept not to the commandments of the Lord, but also mixed with the Druks, the ground people. And they descended rapidly on the road of everlasting death as a race. But the Lord, your God, created the new race, the Gains, capable of an upward inspiration. And he gave unto them the same commandments to preserve their seed from the races beneath them, lest they go down in darkness also. To which end thy Lord gave unto them certain rites and ceremonies and passwords in addition to the circumcision, which would enable them to distinguish with whom they should mingle according to the commandments of God. You poor guys. Behold ye then the testimony which I lay before you, that ye may prescribe the wisdom of many ways. For it will be said by some that there is a law of evolution whereby man raiseth from a lower to a higher state as the earth groweth older. That is true. That's true. We're going to put a little pause here. Us, right now, physicality wise, our meat suit, our consciousness, many people are in third density. A lot of us who are having open minds with a higher end of consciousness are in lower fourth density. But because our third density bodies didn't become crystalline yet and is now transforming, we're ascending up. Higher state of mind. We're in hell. The lower third world, the lower creation. Hell. This is hell. Poverty, war, famine, unspeakable acts against human beings. People exerting their energy and not receiving anything back. You might not want to believe in this particular book, but I find it very interesting. There's a lot of concepts in here. We, as human beings, right now, hopefully I make it because I need to. I really do. I want to make it to the next consciousness, which is the ascension, which is New Earth is just a higher state of consciousness. It's not, I mean, in the multiverse version of this, and a lot of people have different versions. They're like, oh, the Earth merges differently. It's a state of consciousness because you're able to perceive more. And your mind mends with everybody else's. So you're still an individual as a human being, but your consciousness will start adapting to the social memory complex in the beginning stages of such to everybody, where infinite wisdom is had by everybody. And let's say I have an invention, but I can't actually make it. Another person who can make it receives that invention and goes and creates it. Doesn't matter who came up with it. It's the fact that somebody's able to build it. That helps humanity. It's like dropping the ego. Okay, back to the book. I can write all day on this stuff, guys. But I say unto you, there is no such law, save but by the labor of thy Lord and thy God, through their angels, man riseth up, not upward, but he goeth the other way. In which matter, behold, I have left many nations and peoples before you to this day, who are on the downward road. And ye have corporal records before you, showing you that in times past the same countries were inhabited by a higher race. For thus Jehovah created man, to go as readily down the mountain as it's up. Behold, the resurrection cometh from above. All inspiration cometh from the Lord and his angels. For man being the flesh goeth rather to the desires of the flesh than to the spirit. As the light of the sun causeth sleep to pass away, so doth the light of Jehovah, through his gods and lords and angels, cause the soul of man to awake to the possibilities of everlasting life in the exalted heavens. Thus also have I, thy Lord, proven in the world that they who fall from the light of the Father lose their symmetry and beauty of proportions. Behold, in the time of Thor, man considered not the shapelessness of his spouse, nor the mold of her face, nor the clearness of her voice, nor her wit, nor conversational powers. By all stratagems and devices and rites and ceremonies have the gods and lords labored to make man mindful of the way of resurrection through the tree of life. But even in this day, behold, the mother beareth of her daughter to a rich man, and the man seeketh a spouse waste flesh for the sake of gold, and they bring forth heirs of crime. And man crieth out, he cannot be a good God that createth this. But I say unto you, they keep not my commandments. They have gone astray in the wilderness. Be wise, O man, from that which is before you. Remember times of ancients and the labor of the Lord your God. Beginning of the cycle of Thor, the Lord opened up many ways for deliverance of the tribes of man on earth, and man prospered in the way of God for a long season. Then darkness came upon the races of man. Millions of them returned to a state of savagery, and angels of darkness came upon the earth, verily taking upon themselves the semblance of corporal forms, and dwelling with mortals and engaging in practices whereof it is unlawful to write or speak. So that the termination of 3,000 years, the lands of earth were covered with darkness. And Jehovah cast a veil over the face of the sun, and it shone not in brightness for many years. Then darkness came upon the races of man. Who came down? What was created? Anunnaki, Dracos, Drooks to them, Dajins, dwelleth on the earth. Having booty with us humans, the tribes, the spawn of them, Nephilim, giants, and others, unpure of God. Now, is that our fault? Nope. Thor put together Midgard, which is Earth. This is bananas. And again, this is my perception too, so please take note of that. Like, I have a lot of theories, like the last video I did, like, I'm just theorizing what's going on in my brain. I'm not the only one that thinks this way either. So in all honesty, I just want to put that one out there, because I know a lot of the material I'm reading, I bought these books because I was super curious about different versions of stories and of our beginnings. And not everything has our beginning correct. And I don't think until we actually pass and go back to Creator, we're going to get the full account of how this all was created and all of its gorgeousness and ugliness. The law of one, there's polarity. Nothing necessarily is good or bad, because on the stage where fractals of Creator, you have to have bad in order to know what good is, and you have to be good in order to know what bad is. It's like you need to have the both. It's like yin yang. But we were infiltrated, and not necessarily by what religious scholars would call demonics and principalities. That does exist. I am not taken away from that, because I'm going to tell you right now, I've seen them. I've been under their influence as a teen, because when you're an empath and a clairvoyant and unknowing that you are those, because you didn't have the vocabulary or the vernacular to understand those topics back then, I was heavily influenced and under attack. And right now, in our current situation, a lot of people are under that little spell. What if everything you know has been inverted? Everything you know has been inverted. Everything. Everything. What happens if that's really the case? Say hi. She's doing it again. Say hi to everybody. Hi. Hello. My poor baby. She's so old, and you have eye gunky. Hi, good girl. Can I read to the people? Can you come back, lay down? She shares my birthday. She's an Aries. And my little Ethan, he just turned 10. His birthday's on Halloween. Thank you. what this is sort of like alluding to is bananas. Obviously, I believe this is hell. Right? Who entities created it from creator. What if the darkness influenced everything since the beginning? What if? We have to stop with the illusionary knowing that we're the only things in this universe, because that's our perception. That's what we are taught. What happens if you find out there really are ETs? Like, I know they are ETs. We don't just die. We are energy. So, like, let's bring physics in, metaphysics as well. You're right. This is your vehicle, your meat suit. Your energy doesn't die, and you do have electric within you. You're a conductor. Where do you go? Is there a judgment placed on you? Or is that an illusion? See, these are the topics I love talking about because it gets your wheels ticking. But a lot of people who go just by that one book, technically two, because if you consider the New Testament and the Old Testament and you look at the Torah, it's and I'm not here to bash anybody's religion. I'm here to open up your eyes that there might be some issues that we need to all tackle together in terms of interpreting and perceiving assumptions and words and stories and morals that were twisted. And why do I say that? Why is there so many damn versions of the Bible? There should just be one. Why was there a whole lot of gospels taken out? Why was the Book of Enoch taken out? Why was Mary's words taken out? Why is it always just bash women, bash, 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 bash? There's a lot of contradicting things that moralistically don't belong in that book. But don't you worry, because a lot of what you're going to find out in the next few years, and I really hope it does come out, the books that were hidden from humanity, they were hidden for a reason, because they didn't want you to know how powerful you are as an entity, as a being, as a spirit of creator. They didn't want you to know. In the eyes of a lot of my family members, I am the devil. And at many points, I believed I was dark. But what I'm unraveling for myself in my journey on going through all these different books and reading different things is I'm showing everybody I am the dark side of the light because it's still light. I don't need to be religious in any one systematic religious faith to know my maker. I was put here to show all of you and whoever watches that you don't need to have a one faith to be a creator and to be a good person and do the right thing and be a moralistic person. You don't. Is it nice to have a religion? Absolutely. I was brought up, I was adopted. So I was born into a Southern Baptist Catholic family. That didn't last long because I was ripped right away from my mother. She didn't get to hold me. I had no bond to my mother. And 2 months later was flown up to where I am now and adopted into a Jewish family who was not religious, by the way, and never forced anything upon me, which is what that was Creator's plan. Creator planned with my soul group. My adoption was planned. Me being placed in a family that didn't really shove the religion down my face gave me the opportunity to look at all and not be judged by it or persecuted within my family, to look in other places for answers to things. I didn't have anybody preaching to me their perception of words. I had my own. Just putting that in perspective, because a lot of people, and I love, and please don't get me the wrong way, I love your comments. I love when people comment. I love going back and forth, and it's not to be mean. I'm not arguing. Please don't think I'm arguing with anybody. I love to get different viewpoints from everybody. So don't shy away from comments. And if somebody's disrespectful, I will take that off. This is my life's work, and in covering all these things, see everybody's perception, because we all have to work together. At the end of the day, literally, at the end of the day, when we pass away, our physical meat suits, we all go back to the same place. We all go. And sometimes it takes a lot longer for others. Some it's instantaneous. We all go eventually back to source. We go back to Creator. In man's world, in the earth, religion divides us. It divides us. At the end of the day, we all came from the same place. We all have blood. We all have eyes to see, and even those who are blind still have the consciousness and the sixth sense. Those have ears to hear. Those have a mouth to speak, even if it's in sign language. We're human, one species. Don't forget that. Even if you're out there and you're in a higher consciousness and you're a hybrid, you're still half human. And there's many of us who are envoys that are not from here. So just putting that out there. I find it very intriguing. Okay, we're almost there, guys. I just needed to get that off. So because of this picture, it breaks up. So we're going to go into chapter 4 of Thor. But give me a minute. Okay. Chapter 4, Thor. In the 4th year of Dawn under Thor, son of Jehovah, he received from the Holy Council in Borough of Donga in Ethria a dispensation from the Orion chiefs, decreeing to the earth 100 years travaileth in Vosent. Thor called up Wak, god of Rhines, and said unto him, a sore travail hath Jehovah put upon these heavens. Go thou to Halo and command him to provide an avalanza sufficient to deliver 20,000 million atmospheres to the Aegean forests of Gonaya. For the inhabitants of these heavens are too dark to endure the vocant of 100 years, and would be precipitated to the earth and engaged in fetalism. Wak, god of Rhines, knowing the condition of the atmospheres, proceeded at once to Halo, informing him of the decrees of the higher heavens and of the command of Thor, son of Jehovah. Thor then sent word to his lords and marshals, informing them also of his command, and further commanding them to bring from all parts of earth and heaven all the lowest grades of angels to be consecrated in Garu, to which place the Avalanza was to come for them. To accomplish all this, Thor allotted 77 days earth time, and so wisely were carried out all the proceedings that on the 77th day the Avalanza was on hand and all the angels ready to enter therein. Accordingly, these things were accomplished. The 20,000 million angels were carried away the Avalanza, which was walled around on every side with pillars of fire, so that not one spirit could escape, even were he chaotic or imbecile. And Wak and Halu had entire charge of the migration, and they proceeded upward and outward from the earth, 7 diameters of earth's vortex, which brought them into the forests of Gonaya, where they landed them. I'm going to skip around a little bit. Jehovah said, in likeness of the solid earth and stars and moon that afloat in the unseen firmament, so made I atomic parts to all things, and made them to flow in eth. As the earth is to the air and the ether above, so is an atom of Kapoor to the etheric solution. Jehovah said, think not, O man, there is but one member in my person, and that different conditions and states of that one comprise my universe. The foolish man hath said, the blood is the flesh and bones, and that the flesh and bones are but a state of blood. But he seeth not that I make not flesh out of blood, but out of that the blood carrieth. And in that like manner carry I corpore of my person in the eth of my being. Now as to Thor, son of Jehovah, after the departure of Avalanza, he provided a new god unto the earth and her heavens, and crowned him, and bestowed upon him the triangle, which had been handed down since the inhabitation of earth by man. As for the remaining time of dawn, Thor traveled around about the earth and her heavens, making records thereof to be carried with him to Buru in the time of his ascent. In consequence of the depletion occasioned by resurrection of 20,000 millions to Ganya, God and his lords were greatly relieved and their burdens in Garu on the earth. Chapter 5. Peace and prosperity were established on earth and heaven by the time of the expiration of the dawn of Thor. And now come the time for his own ascent with his hosts, leaving the earth and her heavens in care of God and his lords. So Thor, son of Jehovah, sent swift messengers to Etheria, asking to be delivered and asking for the deliverance of 6,000 million bride and bridegrooms to Jehovah. Weing, goddess of Hutska in Etheria, was appointed by the council in Buru to descend for Thor and his hosts and his 6,000 million. The photosphere was flat. To the north and south, but oval east and west. The openings were on the flat sides with passages through. The crescent described a circle of 3,400 miles, and the depth of the harp north and south were 300 miles. The pillars of fire that ascended from the midst were 1,700 miles high. The stars within the photosphere were provided with 5 points, and each star had 1 million chambers, one chamber being allotted as the habitation of one bride or bridegroom, and there were 7,000 of these stars. Dolores Cannon. The framework was crystalline and opaque and transparent, and of all possible colors and shades and tints. Now, besides the stars and their chambers, the base of the crescent was provided with a saloon sufficient for 1 million musicians, and they were thus situated. God had knowledge of the coming of Weing and had commanded information to be sent throughout atmosphere and to the lords located on earth, inviting all who chose to come and witness the ascent. And there thus came, besides the brides and bridegrooms, 2,000 million angels, many not yet delivered from the first resurrection. So I came to pass, Weing, goddess of Hotstock, came down in her ship of fire, even to the foundation of Gao, came in great magnificence, and was received by Thor and God and his lords. And she ascended the throne and performed the marriage rite for 6,000 million. And after the recreation of 1 day was proclaimed in Gu, during which time the atmospherians and etherians mingled freely together. On the day following, Thor accompanied Weing into her ship, and their hosts went in also, being nearly 7,000 million. And then amidst a rain of Etherian flowers, Weing started her fire ship upward. Then on its axis turned the great ship, rising and turning higher and higher. And in a little while, only as ascending star was seen. And then it disappeared in the distance. Thus fulfilled Thor his great mission in the dawn to the earth and her stars. Almost done, guys. Again, the earth and heaven prospered for another season of 200 years. And the next Dan, they were delivered 5,000 million souls, and new gods and lords succeeded, and they also prospered, but not so well. The next harvest was 4,000 million souls. So where do we hear this harvest? That's right, Ra. Ra talks about the harvesting of souls. Mm-hmm. Oh, my back. Yep. But again, false lords and false gods began to set up kingdom of their own in heaven and in the cities of mortals. And and behold, everyone called himself either Thor or Apollo. And the spirits who manifested in the temples and for the oracles all gave one of these names. And mortals who were obsessed believed themselves to be the reincarnation of Apollo or Thor. And the obsessing spirits so called themselves. Others, more intelligent, said, have not the prophets foretold there was to be a second coming of Apollo? And are not these spirits who appear through the Sagras the very person? So great became the superstition of the nations of the earth that in the fall of the leaf, they found proof of the second coming of Apollo or Thor. Many of the spirits deserted the second resurrection in heaven and returned to earth to wait for information concerning the coming event, as they supposed there was no event coming. Jehovah said, all corporal worlds pass through the age of too much belief. As I gave to man judgment, that he might examine and weigh a matter, so runneth he into unbelief. Then my angels go to him and show him within he believed too little. But he goeth to the other extreme, believing all things and not using his judgment. God said, why will not man and angels be patient and wait till a matter is proven meteorious before they pursue it to extremes? The same sun shineth, the same stars stand in the heavens, and the earth traveleth steady on her way. Yeah, her winds blow, her summers and winters come, as in the olden time. Yet man setteth up that a great wonder is near at hand. And no wonder cometh, and nothing anew is near. How shall I stay them, O Jehovah? They desires for Apollo call down millions of spirits from my places of resurrection, and in trials and hardships they fall and become suitable prey for designing false gods and false lords. But they came no other solution than the echo of God's own words. So God and his lords bewailed the darkness of earth and her heavens. But high up in the Etherian heavens came the light of Jehovah, came the voice of Jehovah saying, hear your creator, O ye gods and goddesses, behold the magnitude of my works. I labor not for the profit of this man or that man, nor for this people nor that people, nor for the inhabitants of one star and one heaven, but for the glory of millions of stars and millions of heavens. Doth not one corporal man bewail a shower of rain? And yet his neighbor rejoiceth thereat. One man prayeth for sunrise and another for shade. Think not that I labor for each one separately, but for the perfection of the whole. Wherefore, Then shall the God of earth and his lords bewail the darkness that falleth on the earth in this day. I have prepared places of darkness in the Etherian firmament and places of light, and my corporal words must travel through them, for so I created them. And these places of darkness and places of light are as changes of seasons for my harvests. Now doth the earth pass in deep darkness, for I fructify the races of man in new growth, corporally for things that shall come after, as they absorb from the agi of my places. In this age, so also do their souls become full of superstition and darkness. Thus went the earth into great darkness during the last 600 years of the cycle of Thor, and there was no harvest from her from the Etherian heavens. It states that in the Law of One. Volume 1. It states it. Ross states that there was no harvest. There was no harvestable souls. And that the last harvest, very few souls got to go ascend. Boom, 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 boom. But the spirits deserted atmosphere in millions and millions and went down to the earth to dwell with mortals and to find places on the corporal earth where to live. And save to the Ions, the light of Jehovah was shut out from man. Thus ambition for improvement was at an end. They became They became as drones and vagabonds. And when they died, their spirits continued to lie about in the places of their mortal life. And many of these spirits persuaded mortals to suicide, and they killed themselves by the thousands and tens of thousands. Nor was there courage more amongst men to endure anything under the sun. They wanted to be with the spirits of the dead, to talk with them, to see them, and to be rid of earth trials. Neither had the spirits that congregated on earth any knowledge of the higher heavens, nor could they impart knowledge as to where they dwelt, or in how they employed their time. For in fact, they did nothing useful to heaven or earth, nor even themselves. Thus ended the cycle of Thor, and it was 3,200 years. And mind you, who is the next son of Jehovah? The Book of Osiris. That might be the next read I do. I didn't do Apollo because yesterday I did the Norse mythology with I didn't really mention Thor, but so there's the Book of Apollo, son of Jehovah, the Book of Thor, the Book of Osiris, which is pretty big. Yeah, this is a big chapter. The Book of Fragapati, which is also a very big, huge chapter. Huge. I think it ends there, actually. And it goes into the Book of Divinity. Pretty cool book, guys. Pretty cool book. And because you bared with me all that time and all those mispronunciations and some pausing, because I also had a nosebleed. Really quickly. For this 12, well, it's no longer 12/12, but some of you it still might be 12/12, depending how long it takes to upload. What does the collective need to know? What is one message you can give to everybody for being amazing and sticking around with me, listening to the wonderful Oahspe, hearing me rant a little bit about Oahspe? What is a message, Spirit, for all these beautiful souls who listen and have open minds and are beautiful souls? What's a message you can give everybody? A new romantic cycle begins. New moon in Libra. And again, this might not resonate with you. It might be for somebody else. We're a collective. Who knows? So, guys, thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. There are beautiful people out there that I would like to thank, who have been spreading my page to different outlets. I also do upload not all my content, these readings and stuff, to BitChute. My children's read alouds and my oracle card pulls are just for YouTube. But please share those too if they resonate with you. I'm still trying to figure out my table situation. I also might have to sell my house and move because of this no income nonsense I'm still going through. I'm trying to hold out until after the holidays, because like no one's around and everybody charges an arm and a leg more to do things during the holidays. So yeah, I'm in like literal hell still. Very happy I can still have the lights on. I still have internet to be doing this, and I still have a working phone. I don't know how long that's going to last. And I'm not here to ask for pity or whatever. It is what it is. Living in New York is pretty heinous right now for people who cannot. Mind you, I'm trying. I'm putting out creations. I'm putting out all kinds of things, hoping that people help me out and they get an exchange. I also have these. These are amazing. There's like 15 different flavors with different things that they do. They are DNA Ionic Drops. So the negative ions from the atmosphere, when it lightning, it hits, and that they use this technology. They're organic. They're kosher. They're halal certified. I have drops for the tummy, for blood sugar, for the heart, for the brain, for the hormones, for working out. Overall, instead of taking a multivitamin, these are awesome, guys. So I'm trying my different outlets, but I like to share my wealth of knowledge. and read books, because a lot of people don't have the time to do. Some people can put me on in the car and listen. So if you have it within you, I know the holidays, everybody's tight, but I don't have holidays this year. Please help me out if you can. PayPal.me/AllyKatzkreations211. Venmo at AllyKatzkreations211. If you want to have a conversation, please leave me comments. Or you can email me if you want at AllyKatzkreations211. I keep saying that wrong. AllyKatzkreations211 at gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook at AllyKatzkreations211. You can find me on Instagram at AllyKatz with the Z Creations. I want to thank everybody for supporting me, by praying for me, by watching my videos. I have a lot of different topics now. They're not going to resonate with everybody, and that's okay. And you are allowed to have your different perception and perspective on what I talk about. And I encourage it. It's beautiful. Just make sure everything is nice and respectful. And that's just not towards me. That's for everybody, for whoever comments. It's a beautiful thing when like minds and open minds can come together with different perceptions. Remember that. You don't have to believe everything I say. You don't have to resonate with all the books, but just having an open mind is amazing, and keep up the good work with that. I'm sending each and every one of you love and light. I'm praying for everybody who's been affected by this crazy weather, and with things I cannot mention that have to do with that. There's a lot of people leaving the earth plane right now, and I'm feeling it. I just want to thank everybody, and all of you have a great night and a wonderful week.